Hi guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Niladri Mukherjee and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I practice here in Guelph, Ontario. The topic of the day is Atlantic Immigration Program, or it used to be called aipp, or Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. This program, in the opinion of the government and from my little experience as well, has been so popular that the government has decided to end that pilot program in 2021 and convert that pilot program rather into a permanent program, which is why the term pilot has been removed. Now it is called Atlantic Immigration Program. Now the basic premise, though the name has changed, the basic premises of the program remains exactly the same, which is what really made the program so popular amongst all the pilot programs that ran for a while, right? Then what are those requirements? First of all, the requirement is that your language ability has to be minimal, CLB4 or CLB5, depending on the NOC. You do not need to even be a graduate. You can have a high school diploma or a post-graduation or a post-secondary education certificate, which is obviously certified by one of these assessing organization here in Canada. Means your ECA has to be done. The settlement funds used to be substantially lower, and it is still substantially lower than the federal express entry system or as compared to some of the provincial programs, right? But then the real crux of the program has been, and it still is, that you have to have a job offer. You have to have a full-time job offer for at least 1 year if it is of your NOC 0A or B, and if you are somebody from NOC C, the job offer has to be a permanent job offer from one of the designated employers in the Atlantic Canada. So that is what all the crux of the program, that obviously we have been discussed many a times and you already know it by now, that getting a job offer from outside Canada has not been easy task, and it has never been easy, and it is still not so during COVID. And I can tell you is that even after COVID, even after we overcome this whole pandemic thing, getting a job offer from outside Canada will never be an easy task. But even then, the candidates have got the job offers through these many years, which made the government to convert this program into a full-time program now. So if you're one of these aspirants of this program, and obviously there are some other requirements as well, like you have to have your settlement, like a settlement letter ready, you have to have your endorsement letter ready, but those steps will follow after you get your job offer. But if you are an aspirant of this program, and if you're considering to apply under this program or try to approach this program from outside Canada, there are certain myths that I would like to talk about, which you should never have in your mind. The number one myth, or the number one question that I have is, hey Niladri, my CRS score is very low, say for example 351. Am I still qualified for this APP or Atlantic Pilot Program, or sorry, the Atlantic Immigration Program? The short answer is yes, if you have a job offer, because it is not a part of your express entry system, and your CRS, no matter how high or low is, doesn't have any impact on this Atlantic Immigration Program or APP. So it is completely independent of the express entry system, so your CRS has absolutely no impact on this. This is number one. Secondly, how easy or difficult it is to get a job offer from outside Canada from a Canadian employer, that too employer that are based out of the Atlantic provinces. Now these are the provinces with some of the lowest populations in all of Canada. They are in the eastern part of Canada, extremely cold. Like most of these provinces are quite cold. All of them are cold, and most of them are quite cold. So how easy or how difficult it is? It has never been easy, it will never be easy, and it is still not easy. But the crux of this program is that if you get a job offer, if you're able to convince an employer to give you a job offer, if those employers are designated, right, enough to give you a job offer, and if you get a qualified job offer, then it's relatively simpler to apply for your permanent residency based on that job offer. And if your employer doesn't want to wait you to have your PR processed, you can apply for a work permit for you to work instantly, and that work permit you can apply based on the endorsement letter that you receive from the province will be LMIA exempted. So even if it is difficult to get a job offer from outside Canada from a Canadian employer, it is relatively easier to get your work permit processed or permanent residency application processed if the employer doesn't really have to go through the LMIA process, right? From your perspective, like as a candidate's perspective, I would imagine it will be easier for you to convince that employer that, I am a qualified candidate and you have the similar position open. Why don't you give me the job offer and I'll take care of all the paperwork? And you know what? You will not spend a penny in that whole process. You do not have to, bother about the cumbersomeness of the LMI and everything, because I know the process, and you can in turn work with an immigration consulting firm or a lawyer, or if you're confident enough, do that process yourself and get it all done. So getting a job offer is definitely a tough job, and so is under APP. But since there is no legal requirement of LMIA, and you can directly apply for your permanent residency based on the job offer if you do not want to go through the work permit route, it's the after job offer process is not that complicated when it comes to APP, and which is why the government has sort of set this program in such a manner so that more and more candidates can become a part of this program and can become permanent residents living in those Atlantic provinces. Because I can tell you from my personal experience as well, those provinces really need skilled resources, right? I have been to all these provinces except Newfoundland and Labrador. I have been to New Brunswick, I've been to Nova Scotia, I have been to PEI, and I have been there 1-2 years back in summer, and I see the hiring boards are there in almost everywhere. So those employers do need resources, but again you have to follow the process. You have to follow the required steps which you should follow in order for those employers to consider you even for an interview, right? So as I always say, you have to start with a good CV and then approach them properly and whatnot. But again, if you're looking for this specific program, if you're looking for this Atlantic pilot program, here is what I would suggest you to do if you want to start your preparation right away, right? I'm assuming that you're watching this video from outside Canada. You just heard about this program, or you knew about this program maybe beforehand. You have sent your CVs to a lot of employers, did not get even a single response. You're frustrated and whatnot. Here is what, if you have the budget, you have the bandwidth, and if you have the inclination, motivation, this is what you should do. First and foremost, get your language test done, right? Take preparations if required. Try to score at least CLB 5 and above or CLB 6 and above, and score CLB 9 if you can, obviously, right? Score as much as possible. In the meantime, get your educational credentials assessed by one of the assessing organizations here in Canada. Now, here is a myth that WES is the only assessing organization here in Canada, and this is not. There are many other assessing organizations as well, and I think there are 6 more apart from WS. So check all of their website, check IQS and whatnot, check all of their website, see the processing times at their end, check their fee, obviously, and check, and like most of them would give you an idea as to what your degree or diploma is going to be equivalent like if you do the equivalency through them. So check all those factors and choose the best one in terms of the processing time as well, and get that done. So now you have your language score, which qualifies you for AIPP. Now you have your education assessment that qualifies you for AIPP. Save dollars in your bank account or have them in a readily available fund. Look at the Government of Canada website. That will give you a definite idea as to how much settlement fund it should be, either it's for you or your family or like whomsoever is immigrating with you. Yeah. So have that money readily available. Do not touch that money. Once you have that, if you have the bandwidth, it will be a good idea to apply for a Canadian tourist visa at this point, right? And nowadays, the processing times, if you're making an application now for a TRV in Canada from outside Canada, the processing time is sort of normal. For example, if you're applying from India, the government is writing 45 days to 46 days kind of a processing time. And from my experience, I could see the processing time is just about 2 to 3 weeks for well-made applications. So apply for a TRV if you do not have a TRV. Make sure that the application is superbly well made. This is important. Do not make chances. If you are not sure, work with a professional. So do not take your chances that, let's make an application. If it's rejected, then I take a professional help. This is what is, I tell everybody that if you're confident, do the applications on your own. You do not have to come to me or anybody else. But if you are not even slightest of confidence, right? If you lack even slightest of confidence, definitely take professional help from day one, rather than getting a rejection and then taking a professional help. Because once you face a rejection, having anything done on that application is that much tougher, right? So do that part. Once you have a TRV, right? In the meanwhile, obviously start your research with respect to where to live, how to manage your expenses while you're in Canada, right? Talk to your current employer if they're ready to give you some kind of vacation payoff or something like that. So have all those basics sorted. And then once you land in Canada, directly move to one of those Atlantic provinces. My suggestion will be go to New Brunswick. This is one of the cheapest places for you to live in, or even go to Nova Scotia You really do not have to go to, and live in the bigger cities like St. John in New Brunswick or Fredericton or Moncton, or even you do not have to live in Halifax in Nova Scotia. You can pick a smaller city, and which is, all these are not very, very big provinces. So you will be able to commute from one province to the other, from one employer to the other quite easily. Make your move there, right? And then try to call up those employers who are hiring resources, right? Tell them that, I meet your requirements, I meet your criteria, I am already in Canada, I can come there for a face-to-face interview if required, anytime you say. And if you think I am the eligible resource, if you can give me a job offer, I will ensure that I will not bother you with the paperwork. Paperwork is my responsibility. That really gives the employer a lot of confidence. And also the fact that you're in Canada, also the fact that they're able to meet you face to face, will give you will give you a lot of edge over the candidates that are just sending random CVs from to all the employees from outside Canada. Now, there is no harm in sending CVs, but you know what? If I get to talk to somebody in person, if I get to talk to a foreigner in person while the foreigner is in Canada, that gives me a much more opportunity to understand the person and to figure out whether this person is worth hiring for, rather than if I interview somebody over video conferencing in India, because I do not even have any means then to justify or to verify the authenticity of the person, right? And the immigration scams and frauds are quite rampant. So once you take these steps, I would think your possibility of success would be quite very high, right? People make mistakes that they land in Toronto and then they would make their base in Brampton or Mississauga, or then they will go to British Columbia and then they will live in like Surrey. You do not have to live in a congested place, an already saturated place where you will find your competitors, way lot more competitors. And then another thing what people fail to understand is that, what if you get a job offer? A job offer is nothing unless and until that job offer gives you a legal status in Canada, if you do not have a legal status in Canada. So in this case, if you have a job offer, it's a relatively simpler to get the rest of the things sorted, like your settlement plan, your endorsement letter, because those are the processes that would follow. And those are the free processes will be handled by the employer or some settlement organizations. And if you're working with an immigration consulting firm, then the licensed immigration consulting firm, that firm will be able to guide you with each step of the process. You really do not have to bother. So your whole and sole objective and whole and sole focus area should be getting a job offer from one of these Atlantic employers. And once you have a single aim to work on, I think the possibility of success is quite higher. And I can tell you from my personal experiences is that once you come to Canada, you really do not have to live in cities like Vancouver or Toronto or Mississauga or Brampton. And even if you're living in Nova Scotia, you really do not have to live in Halifax. There are many other small cities that are way more affordable, gives you way better quality of life. The real estate market currently in Canada is extremely crazy, so you will still then have a chance to buy a property in some time in the future once you settle your base in one of the smallest cities or towns. So Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, the Atlantic Immigration Program is definitely one of the best options for outside Canada candidates. The crux of this whole thing is a job offer, because scoring a CLB 5 or 4 is not that difficult. Having a high school diploma degree is not that difficult as well. The settlement fund factor is quite relatively small as compared to the other requirements of the provinces or the federal. You will have that as well. The only bottleneck or the factor that we really need to solve in this puzzle is the job offer. I already told you the steps that you can take. If you're able to take those steps and take those steps in a focused manner, probably your possibility of success will be quite high in this program. So that's pretty much all about it. If you need my professional assistance, do let me know. Contact at nuvonation.ca. We'll be more than happy to assist you. See you guys in the next video. Bye now.